Well, hey, my YouTube family. This is your girl, Michelle W. Kofi, your financial literacy and mindset coach. I hope all of you are doing well. Listen, today I want to talk about savings because I posted over on my Facebook. You can go there and follow me, add me as a friend, Michelle W. Kofer, Cofer. But I posted on my Facebook today a question, just basically asking who has at least $1,000 saved. And so for the most part, everybody has $1,000 saved. So I'm extremely proud of that because 56% of people in America do not have a rainy day fund. All right. But I was really proud of that. But then I began to think about it because someone made a comment, that they have 3 months in savings. And I thought about how my whole life went backwards. I had 6 months in savings, but I was out of work for 8 months. Okay. So my rainy day lasted beyond my rainy day funds, and subsequently I almost lost everything. Had to turn in a card to the bank, maxed out credit cards, credit suffer, and all of that. That's why I am a credit specialist now, because I have a passion for this work. But nonetheless, my rainy days lasted longer than my rainy day fund. So what I started living by is I started saving. I started moving my money into places that, like, high yield accounts, where I could say, you know what, if something were to happen, I got at least 12 months of living expenses, because I knew 8 months had happened before. So if it happened before, it could happen again. So this time I prepared for 12 months. And then once I hit my 12 months mark, I said, let me save for 24 months. So being able to put myself in position where I could at least save for 24 months of my living expenses. So 2 years, if something were to happen and I didn't have any income for 2 years, at least minimally, I could be able to live if I didn't have a job or any other source of income. So why am I on this video today? Because I want to talk to you guys about being able to save and the importance of savings. So a lot of people go by, the 40-30, I mean, sorry, not the 40-30, but the 50-30-20 rule. So 50% of your income is for essentials, for the things that you need, the necessities, like your living, your utilities, your vehicle, things like that. And then 30% goes into kind of like discretionary funds. This is, choosing to vacate, choosing to dine out, choosing to get new outfits, choosing to whatever you want to do with the money, and then 20% to saving. So that's the 50-30-20 rule. 50-30-20 rule. So you're going to put 50% of your household income towards the big stuff that matters. 30% kind of discretionary. We choose where we want to spend the money, and then 20% goes into savings. That's a rule of thumb, and many people in the financial industry actually utilize that principle of 50-30-20. Totally up to you. You can modify those numbers, if you want to. But I would say to you, I'm a kingdom woman, so I would say at least 10% of everything you get needs to go back to the kingdom, and then at least 10% needs to go into saving for yourself. So your 50-30-20 may be 50% big things, 30%, discretionary, and then 10% kingdom, 10% me. Like, it's totally up to you, but I definitely want you to work on starting to save. And so my audience is very diverse. So I know I'm new to YouTube, but my audience is very diverse in the social media world over on Facebook. So because I have people in their 20s, I have people in their 30s and 40s, I want to just kind of share some tips for you guys that regardless of your age demographic, these are some tips that will work for you. Okay. So when we're talking about our 20s, for sure, most millennials right now are spending money that they don't have. Statistics are showing that, that about 44% of them will spend money that they don't have. They're extremely social. It's important to them to impress people with Facebook images and Instagram pics and all of this videos of vacation, but they're spending, about 44% of them are spending money that they do not have. So that means they're not preparing for their 30s. But in their 20s, the good rule of thumb is to make sure that of your gross income, you save about 25%. And this is coming from people in the financial industry, people who write for financial magazines, financial companies. The average number is about 25%. So if you are in your 20s watching this, in the comments below, hashtag 20, because I want you to know in your 20s, you need to be putting at least about 25% of your money away. But so let's talk about, in your 20s specifically, we're going to put money away, but we're going to start an emergency fund. And it is going to be a minimum of 3 to 6 months. You're doing that in your 20s because we're going to gradually grow you to where you can save more money. So number one, you need to be putting about 25% of your income away if possible. But if not, you definitely need to be saving 3 to 6 months of your income or your living expenses, okay? Number two, in your 20s, you want to start saving for the future. So one of the things that I will tell you, I didn't mean to zoom in like that. Let's zoom back out. One of the things I would tell you guys in your 20s is look at high yield accounts. So many of us are accustomed to, like, the local bank down the street. We bank there all of our lives. But look into some high yield accounts. You can find many of those online. So as opposed to like a very, very low to no interest that you get a traditional bank, you might get like a 1.3 or a 2.4, which is not a whole lot when you think about the scope of it, especially if you're not putting a lot of money into the account. It's not a whole lot, but it's better than 0.003 or 0.0000. So you want to put more money into a high yield savings account. You can start putting money in a money market. You can put money in a CD. I have CDs for my daughter with Navy Federal. So put money in a CD. These are things you want to do in your 20s. Now we're growing up a little bit, right? We're coming out of the 20s. We're going into the 30s. We probably have more responsibilities now. We may be transitioning out of, an apartment into maybe becoming a first-time home buyer, or at least thinking about it in our 30s, if you haven't already. And so now when you get to your 30s, Fidelity, we all know Fidelity is a huge company, $1 million company, probably $1 billion company, to be honest with you. But Fidelity says in your 30s, you should have, by now at age 30, you should have the equivalent of your gross income in your savings account. So if you're 30 years old, and let's say you got fortunate and you got a job that pays you $45,000, by the time you get to 30, you should have about $45,000 in your savings account, according to Fidelity. So that meant if you take these practices that we talked about in the 20s and you're financially responsible, demonstrating fiscal responsibility in your 20s, by the time you now begin in your 30s, you should have at least a salary into your savings. Now, I'll be honest, most people don't have that. Most people don't have that. But what I'm trying to teach myself and my audience and those connected to me is, let's start. So even though statistically most people don't have it, will never have it, let's defy the odds. Let's be those people that understand how to have it. Okay. And so then, but let's talk about it. The 30s. In your 30s, this is what you want to do. Okay. You definitely want to avoid, that I make more money, so I spend more money trap. Okay. I just told you guys you need to be building up a bigger savings account for 30. So in 30s, we're now like moving into our career zones and entrepreneurship. Now that's the big wave. I'm an